Welcome everyone to this presentation of the UC Personal Insight Questions. My name is Julie Craig. I am the Assistant Director of Evaluations at UC Santa Cruz, Office of Undergrad Admissions. Basically what that means, I'm one of those people that reads all those applications. Today I want to talk about the personal insight questions and maybe give you some tips on how to answer them and what you need to do. However, first, since I work for UC Santa Cruz, I want to talk about UC Santa Cruz and all the wonderful things that are available there. So let's get started. So UC Santa Cruz is located right there on the Central California coastline. We are a 2,000-acre campus. That's a pretty good sized campus. Just to give you an idea, UCLA is just over 400 acres. Okay, we use about half of that 2,000 acres to educate and reside our students. And it is the second smallest campus population-wise when it comes to all the UCs. So we have about 19,500 students on campus, and that actually includes the graduate students. We have about 1,800 graduate students. So the rest of the 19,500 are undergrads who are going for their bachelor's degree. So here's some statistics that we love to talk about for UC Santa Cruz. We are one of the top 30 US undergraduate teaching. We're also one of the top 30 in the US public universities. Both of those were given by US News and Report. We are a fairly new member of the Association of American Universities, and only about 65 universities have been invited for this honor since 1900. And basically what that membership means is that we are at the forefront of scientific inquiry and educational excellence. Okay. And also you can see here we're the top 15 when it comes to global research influence. And what that means is that the research that we do on our campus goes towards influencing other research done throughout the world. Now, a lot of opportunity to do undergrad research on the UCSC campus. About 75% of our undergrads actually participate in research projects before graduation. That is actually huge. Not very many schools can reach this. Most of the time at other schools, the graduate students do most of the research. Well, at UC Santa Cruz, as I already stated, our grad population is not very large, only about 1,800 students. To give you an idea of the size difference, UCLA has over 10,000 graduate students. So only 1,800 grad students at UC Santa Cruz. So we have a lot more research opportunities than grad students to fulfill them. So our undergrads get to do the research. We also even have an undergrad research advisor who can help you find an undergrad research opportunity and help you, apply for it, get started, things like that. I've had many students say, oh, no, that's nothing I would ever want to do. But then later they went ahead and did it, thought, okay, I'll do it. And they found it was one of the best things they ever did. It got them involved in something they never thought they would be interested in. And now they've totally changed their career tracks and things like that. It also is a great opportunity just to get to know your professors, get to know people in the industry that maybe you want to go into, things like that. Okay, so really a great opportunity to do, and I would encourage you to do it if you come to UC Santa Cruz or go to any of the UCs. At UC Santa Cruz, we have 67 majors, 39 minors, and they all fall into one of these 5 academic divisions: the arts, humanities, the physical and biological sciences, social sciences, and then our Jack Baskin School of Engineering. Okay. Some of our most popular majors are computer science, psychology, business management, economics, and then human biology, which happens to be our pre-med major. Okay. We have lots of different majors. I would advise you to really check out this admissions.ucsc.edu/majors website. It'll list all of our majors, what you're going to be doing in those majors, maybe what kind of careers you can go to, things like that. And I would encourage you to check out the majors for all of the UCs and all of the universities that you're thinking about applying to. You want to make sure that not only they have the major you're interested in, but it's what you think the major is going to be about. You'd be surprised how often students think, oh, I want to be a communications major, and they get in there and they're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was. So make sure you're checking out the major before you enroll. Some of our most newest majors are the critical race and ethnic studies. We also have biotechnology and applied math, which those 2 majors are both in our Jack Baskin School of Engineering. And then we also have education, democracy, and justice. Those are some of the few new majors we have. At UC Santa Cruz, we're kind of unique when it comes to our college system. Most universities, when you are in a particular major, that puts you in a particular college. So for example, if you went to UC Davis, and you're an English major, you would be in their College of Letters and Sciences. That's just how it works. It has nothing, but when the college is there, it has nothing to do with where you would live or anything like that. It just has to do with where your major is located. At UC Santa Cruz, it's totally different. You can be in any major in any college. And the residential colleges, these 10 that you see here, they're going to be where you live on campus. Okay, so if you do live on campus, you'll be in your college's dorms or apartments. You would also have your advisor right there at the college office. They're right there for you to go talk to. Okay. Also, our campus is very unique in that not only are colleges right there on campus and that's where you live and it's right there on campus, you're right next to where you're getting educated as well. A lot of universities, it's kind of the opposite. All the education's going on campus, but you actually live technically in dorms or apartments off campus. Okay. So this at UC Santa Cruz, it is a little different. And these colleges are just little smaller communities that you can be a part of in this larger university. As I said, the university is 2,000 acres. It's a good sized campus. So it's nice to be part of this little smaller community, to get to know people. You'll be around the same people probably all the time, but they'll all be all these different majors, because not only one major is in one college. And each college has their own things going on. They have intramural sports. They might have, they have photography studios. They have other art studios, things like that. They have open mic nights. You can be part of that. They have their own student governments, things like that. So you can be part of all that, or none of it if you don't want to be. But it's really, I really would encourage you to be a part of as much as you can while you're at the University of California. And as you can see there, there's once again a nice website you can go to check out the colleges even further if you'd like. At UC Santa Cruz, we have over 200 student-led clubs and organizations. And those clubs can vary from something you're just interested in, to your major, to some kind of scholarship program that you're part of. It could happen to be with your like ethnic background or some other history. It also is the fraternities and sororities. So we do have Greek life on campus. About 9% of our students on campus do participate in Greek life. We also are a Division III NCAA school. Okay, we do have athletic teams like men's tennis and women's volleyball. We also, as you can see there, we have women's and men's basketball. But we also have things like surfing clubs, because we have sports clubs and intramural sports. So surfing club, we have ultimate frisbee, intramural competitive, ballroom dancing, fencing, sailing, it goes on and on. Basically, if you want to be part of a sport, you can be at UC Santa Cruz. Okay. We also celebrate diversity on campus quite a bit. So we try to have lots of different cultural celebrations, and those are usually run by our ethnic resource centers. So ethnic and identity resource centers, excuse me. So we have the African American Resource and Cultural Center, the American Indian Resource Center, the Asian American Pacific Islander Resource Center, the Chicano Latino Resource Center, the Lionel Cantu LGBTQI Center, and the Women's Center. All these different resource centers offer workshops, cultural events, meetings, study spaces, support, and community for you to thrive, okay, and be your best self, okay? So, and even if you don't feel you're part of one of those communities or resources, you're welcome to go talk to that resource center if you want to go learn more about that culture. You're also at UC Santa Cruz will have lots of academic advising. You have at least 2 advisors. You'll have your major advisor, which of course obviously helps you with your major. And then you'll have your college advisor, which will help you with pretty much everything else, okay? There's the Educational Opportunity Program, EOP. The job and internship fairs, the graduate school advising, and the career coaching and workshops, those are all run by our Career Services Center. And it's an excellent center. If you come to UC Santa Cruz, please check out the Career Center, because it helps you not only with those 3 things I just mentioned, but it can help you find a job on campus. They do things like mock interviews, job interviews. They help you with a resume. If you want to go to med school, they can help you find a med school that you want to go to and help you with the interview for that, because that's one of the things you have to do to go to med school, is to do an interview. But if you just want to move on to grad school, you can find a grad school for you as well at the Career Center. Of course, UC Santa Cruz also has a graduate school, so you might want to check it out first too. And of course, health and safety is very important on campus. We do have our own student health center with its own pharmacy. We have psychological services on campus, as well as our own police and fire departments on campus. Now let's get into the UC requirements for first year students. So these are the minimum requirements for the whole UC, okay, not just UC Santa Cruz, this is the whole UC. These are the A through G requirements, see there. You want to make sure you get obviously all of these done, in fact, most of them done by your senior year. And you want to try to go above and beyond the minimum, okay? Like I said, these are the minimums. Now, if you're really good at math, please do more than the 3 years of math. If you're really good at language other than English, do more than just the 2 years. If you love history and social science, do more than just the 2 years of that, okay? We'd love to see as much as we can beyond the minimum. That's what we love. The grade point average has to be at least a 3.0 for California residents in these A through Gs. And the letter grades, you have to get at least a C or better. And pass grades do not work to satisfy A through G requirements, except for the pandemic terms, which was winter 2020, spring 2020, and summer 2020. I believe that might be extending through to spring of 2021, but please double check with the university before just to be sure, okay? Preferably, we'd like these all to be taken for letter grades, but we know sometimes that's hard during these pandemic times. And then when it comes to the GPA, like I said, a 3.0, and we're only going to be using the 10th and 11th grades to calculate that GPA. It's not to say the 9th grade is important. It is very important. We just don't happen to use the grades into the GPA there. We still are making sure, though, you completed those 9th grade classes with C's or better. And then the senior year, of course, is very important. We are looking for senior rigor, but the senior year, when you apply, you don't have any grades yet. So we can't really use that in the GPA. But we are checking the senior year to make sure not only you're finishing up your A through G requirements, but that maybe you're going beyond that. We'd like to see some, maybe 1 or 2 honors if you have them available at your school, things like that. We do look at rigor, which I'll go into in a second for the 13 criteria. Senior year rigor is one of the things we look for. But keep in mind, rigor is like honors classes and the number of classes. So if all you're taking is English and underwater basket weaving for your senior year, just those 2 classes, well, that's not very rigorous, okay? So please make sure you're doing beyond that. No senioritis, everybody. You want to stay away from that. And then the standardized exams are still optional. Those are the SATs or the ACTs. Right now for fall 2022, the University of California has stated that we will not be using SATs or ACTs while reading your applications. Okay, so you can submit them, it's fine, but we will not be able to see them when we're reading the applications. However, if you need one of those tests in order to complete one of these A through G requirements, especially SAT subject exams, which often can complete one of these A through G subjects, then we will look at those to make sure you're completing the A through Gs. Okay. Also, you might need the SATs or the ACTs for a scholarship you're going for, or maybe you're applying to something other than a UC. So make sure you're exploring all your universities before you decide whether or not to take the SATs or ACTs. Now, here are the 13 UC approved criteria that I mentioned before. It used to be 14, but we've removed the test scores. Okay, so like I said here, quality of the senior year program, that is definitely one of the things we're looking for. We'd like to see you take a good amount of work, and hopefully, like I said, 1 or 2 honors courses if they're available at your school. But we're also looking for things like special talents, achievements, and awards, participation in educational programs, maybe academic opportunities in your high school, something else going on in your high school besides just the classes, academic accomplishments within life experiences. We're looking pretty much at everything. We want to know pretty much everything that's happened to you inside and outside the classroom while you were in high school. And a lot of these things you can talk about in your personal insight questions. So let's get to that. Now, here are the personal insight questions. There are 8 of them. You choose 4 of them as a first year or freshman applicant. You will choose 4 of these. You only get 350 words per answer. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And some of the tips here: start early and do some brainstorming. Okay, so let's go over these real quick. What have you done to make your community a better place? That's one. Think of an academic subject that inspires you. Like, so what's your favorite academic subject? What would you say is your greatest talent or skill? Describe how you have taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity. Describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome that challenge. What's your creative side? Do you have a creative side, and how do you express it? And please let us know more about that. Describe an example of your leadership. And remember, leadership can be a lot of different things. A leadership could be maybe a job. Maybe you're a leader in your job, a crew leader or something like that. But maybe you're a part of a club and you're any kind of the leadership part of that club, like the vice president, the president, the secretary, anything like that. Maybe you're part of student government. That's obviously leadership. But leadership can also be things like you're at home and you need to take care of your siblings. Well, that's leadership right there. You having to deal with that. Okay. And then the last one is beyond what was already been shared in your application. What do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for the University of California? Okay. So those are the 8 questions. And as I said, you really want to start early and do some brainstorming early. So really think about all these different questions and maybe plug in different words that you think, or clubs or whatever that you think might fall into these areas for you. Okay. Make sure you're open and be reflective. This isn't an essay, but instead it's a great opportunity to give more context to the rest of your application. You can certainly mention something in your application that you've done and then get more into it in the personal insight questions. Okay. Be concrete and make sure you're right about yourself, not your grandma or your aunt or anyone else. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I've heard about how grandma had to trudge through 10 miles of snow in order to get to school and had to do all this and that. And then she didn't even get to finish school, and on about grandma. And at the end, they just say, and that's why I want to go to school. Well, great. I've learned a lot about grandma, and now I want to admit her into my school, but I've learned nothing about you, the applicant. So please make sure you're talking about yourself. And also remember, all 8 of these questions are treated equally. There is no advantage or disadvantage to choosing one question over the other. What I would love for you to do is just pick which 4 best fit you. Okay? And there's different ways to do that. The brainstorming, plugging in different words or phrases or clubs or whatever that you're part of that might fit into these different questions. But I've also had a lot of students that, while in the first draft stage of writing out their answers, all offline, of course, they actually answer all 8 questions. They try to answer all 8 questions. And then they try to, after that, then they select which 4 best fit them. Okay. So, and that brings me to another tip is make sure somebody is reading them for you. After you think you've pretty much got it, the answer is set, have somebody look at them and say, am I talking about myself? Are you getting an idea of what it is I'm trying to say? Can I put in more context? Things like that. That's a great way of really figuring out and trying to get the answers as best as possible. These next couple of slides I'm going to show you are actual answers from students that we got on applications. They're paraphrased, though. These are not the exact wording they used, but they're just paraphrased to give an idea of what they said in their answers. Okay, so student A, I actually have a couple of his answers here. Talked about his creative side. Student describes their creative side as expressed in their music. They play jazz improvisation, requiring confidence, technical skill, flexibility, practice, developing arrangements that will work, experimentation, all tying into their major and ultimate goal of teaching, performing, and arranging music. So that's a lot. I got a lot of information out of that. Now, this student, if you could see the rest of their application, they actually, obviously, when you look at their courses, they they've taken jazz all 4 years, obviously a musician. However, this gave me a lot more understanding of what they have done to get to that degree, okay, and what they're doing in those classes. And also they said that all this information and more in 350 words or less. So that's really good. This next one, same student, talking about a greatest talent or skill. Student describes their greatest skill as Taekwondo, starting out as early as kindergarten, practicing regularly to achieve their black belt and become the youngest on the demonstration team. They overcame injuries and began teaching 6 years ago, taught them perseverance and dedication to continuous improvement. Once again, got a lot said in there in a very small time, the 350 words. Okay. So a lot of students, I'm sure right now are thinking, well, great, I don't have a black belt and I'm not a musician. I'm never getting into the UC. You don't need to be a karate expert or a Taekwondo expert or an art or musician or anything like that. You must have, everybody has a creative side that you can talk about and go into really context in and talk about what you've accomplished on that in that creative side as much as this student did. And same thing with your greatest talent or skill. You always have a talent or skill that you can probably talk about and really give some context on how long it's taken you, what you've accomplished, things like that. Okay. So don't worry, you do not have to be a black belt or a musician in order to get into the University of California. This student just did a really, really good job of using those 350 words to really get as much information as possible to us. So this next student, this is a different student, and we're just going to look at one of their answers. And they answered the significant education opportunity question. So let's just read it out here. While attending middle school, her English teacher organized a book group where if participants did certain things for the year, the reward at the end of the year was to attend the American Library Association conference. Was able to meet individual authors, talk to publishers, introduced to new books, and felt like equals in the world of written words, fantasy, and imagination. Was not a particularly good reader and struggled in English class, but once she began reading books that really applied to her interests, all she wanted to do was read more. Being in the book group for the past 6 years has inspired her to be a better student and opened doors for her future. Has become the teen representative on her local library advisory board and learned to be a young adult that has the confidence to work with all kinds of people, young and old, professionals and famous authors, as well as the wonderful librarians. All right. So that's actually not a bad answer. It's pretty decent, actually. But unfortunately, it's also a missed opportunity. And let me explain. In the UC application, including the PIQs, we want to hear mostly about what happened during your high school years. That's not to say that you cannot mention the before high school stuff, but you want to mention them and then quickly move on to how it inspired you or caused you to do whatever in your high school years. Okay, so this answer unfortunately spends a little too much time on what happened in middle school, where one sentence could have explained that part. So it's wonderful that she got to go to the American Library Association conference, but I didn't need to know how she got chosen or anything. It was because it was all in middle school. So just the fact that she got to go could have been quickly done in one sentence. Okay. So for example, the sentence could have been, in middle school, I was one of only 6 students in my school selected to attend the American Library Association conference. Great. And then follow that up with, this experience led to my 6-year participation in my school's book club, as well as being selected the teen representative on my city's library advisory board, where I got the opportunity to, and then go on from there. Because what I really want to hear about, because when I got to the bottom of this answer, I'm like, oh, cool, she got to be part of the library advisory board, local. Well, that sounds like something I want to hear more about. And she really didn't get into it. She mentioned that, well, she gets to, it gained her confidence to work with all kinds of people, but what did you get to do in the library advisory board? What, there must have been something, because this sounds important. This is, for one, it's a leadership type role. It also sounds like you're probably the only one of your school in the area that got selected to be part of this group. And so I want to hear about the big opportunity that no one else but you got to have. And as part of the advisory board, what decisions and responsibilities have you been part of? That's more what I want to hear. Okay. So once again, this is not a bad answer, overall a bad answer. I'm getting some nice information about the student. It's just unfortunately a missed opportunity. She could have gotten much more into what's going on now while she's in high school with this library advisory board and how, boy, that's really inspired her and what she's got to be part of and things like that. Okay. So let's move on. So some additional tips when answering the PIQs. Okay. Make sure you're talking about, when you're talking about one campus, a lot of students do this. A lot of students will say, I really want to go to UCLA, or my dream school is UC Berkeley. Well, when I'm over here at UC Santa Cruz, I'm like, oh, well, okay. I don't take offense. It's totally fine. I don't take it into account. I'm just trying to read your answers. It's just when you talk about one campus and another campus is reading it, it just sounds strange and unprofessional. So instead, what you would want to say, I would like to attend the University of California because, okay. Now, if you're only applying to UC Berkeley, which I don't recommend that you only apply to one UC, then okay, you can just mention the one campus. But usually you're applying to more than one UC. So make sure you're including all of us. It just sounds a little more appropriate. Okay, avoid inappropriate use of humor. Okay, what you and your friends find funny, others may not. Okay, and it may just be too off-putting. So I would really suggest just avoid inappropriate use of humor in your PIQ answers. Remember, the PIQs are not creative writing exercises. So we don't want a poem. We don't want a cliche or anything like that. We just want you to answer the question. These questions are almost like an interview on paper, like a job interview on paper. So almost act like if I was sitting in front of you and I asked the question, I want you to just answer it like you would if you were sitting in a job interview. Okay. So you don't want to go into creative writing. You don't want to do that. I've had many students, what they call set the stage for us, where they will, for example, say, I was walking along the beach and I tripped over a seashell, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a marine biologist. Okay, thank you for setting the stage. You didn't need to, and now you've wasted several of the 350 words saying that, and it's just really not necessary, okay? Remember, not a creative writing exercise. Don't set the stage. Please just answer the question. Okay. Quotations, people love to use quotations, or a famous quotation, or what their favorite quotation or anything like that. Remember, we want to know your thoughts and words, not someone else's. Okay. The generalities, make sure you stick to the facts and personal examples. We get a lot of students in general, blah, blah, blah. Well, no, I stick to the facts and personal examples. I don't want to hear about in general. Okay. Reputation, make sure you're giving us new info that we can't find in the other sections of the application in your PIQ answers. Once again, like I said, it's fine if you mention the thing over here in the other part of the application, but in the PIQ answer, if you want to go more into it, yes, give us new info on that. Just don't reiterate what you already said in the other part of the application. Just give us new info, more context, things like that. Avoid asking philosophical questions. Okay. Just make sure you get to the point and tell us what you mean. As I've mentioned several times now, you only have 350 words. So you need to get to the point quickly. You need to tell us as much as you can possibly tell us about all the things you've accomplished and how great it's been for you, all in 350 words. So you want to get to the point quickly. And please, acronyms. You're welcome to use an acronym, but please spell it out for us, okay? Here at the UC, we love our acronyms. UC, PIQs, UCLA, everything. We love acronyms, believe me. But we unfortunately do not all know all of them. So please make sure you're spelling it out for us as well. So that's a lot of information. I hope it has helped you figure out how to answer the PIQ questions. If you would like to know more information about the University of California, Santa Cruz, you're welcome to check us out here. You're also, of course, if you have some PIQ questions, you're welcome to email us there as well. We can certainly help you with that. I hope this was helpful for you, and thank you for listening.